Hello friends, welcome to our channel. When we appear for data analyst interviews, we need to make sure that we should have good understanding of SQL concepts because interviewer generally asked many of the questions based on SQL only. So in our today's video, we are going to see some of the important interview questions which will help us in enhancing our SQL concepts. So let's start this video. Okay, so the interview questions that we are going to solve, they are based on window functions. Window functions, friends, are very helpful in performing complex calculations. Without window functions, we need to use multiple subqueries, complex joins, which will take our time and also make query very complex. So to minimize that complexity and make query efficient, we need these window functions. Also, when we use window functions, it will make our query easier to read. So there are multiple advantages of window functions because of which we will use them to solve these interview questions. The first question that we will going to solve today is find the average salary by department. So in this particular question, we need to find average salary of a department. This is the basic interview question that we are going to solve. And the table that we are going to use today is employee data. So first we will check the data of this table and then we will try to solve the query. Friends, always follow this practice that we must understand the data that is given by our interviewer. Because if we will not understand our data and start solving the query directly, then ultimately it will take much more time to solve that particular question. So always follow this practice, go through the data, understand the columns, and then try to solve the question. So in our current scenario, interviewer has given out this employee data table to us in which there are multiple columns present. The first column that is present here is employee ID, which contains different IDs of employees. The second column that is present here is employee name, which means that this particular column contains the name of employees. Then we have the gender column, department ID, department names. Basically, these are the departments in which these employees work. And then finally, the salary column, which states the salary of each employee mentioned here. So we have these columns present in our employee data. So this is the overall structure of the table. And what I will do, I will share the CSV file that contains this particular data, and all you need to do after that is, let me show you the steps to create this table similar to this. So currently let me drop this table, and all you need to do is go to this tables and under which you will find this table data import wizard. You need to click on this and you need to browse the respective file that I will share. So once you will select that particular file, you need to do next. What it will do, it will ask for destination. So I'm selecting the create new table option because if you have the data structure already ready, you can select this use existing table option as well. But currently I have already dropped this table, so I'm selecting this create new table. So here you need to give the name. I'm keeping the name of file as it is. So the table will be created with this employee underscore data name only. And I need to click this next. And here are all the columns that are present in the data file. That is, the columns are employee ID, employee name, gender, department ID, department name, and salary. So it automatically picks the data type from by checking the data that present in the file. So for now, I'm keeping the field type as it is. I'm not changing anything here. I'm clicking on next, and it will import the data and create the respective table. Once I finish, I need to refresh this and I'm able to see my respective table, that is employee data. If I click on this, you can see the same data. So you need to follow the same practice with the data file that I will going to share with you. Now we have imported that data file and we have the table created. Now we will write our query. So now friends, we have fair bit of idea about the table structure, the table that it was shared by our interviewer, and we have also created this particular table in our MySQL. Now all we need to do is to write the query. So what I will do, I will start writing this particular query. The question we already discussed that we need to find the average salary by department. So first, select star from employee data. This is the table that we just created, and we will write employee underscore data, and we will do control enter. Okay, the structure is ready with us, and now what we need to do, we will start using our window function. So we need to find the average salary by department. So we first use our average function, and in the average function we will write our salary column. And then friends, then what we need to do, because if we will simply keep this as average salary, then what it will do, it will identify the average for all the employees, average salary of all the employees. It will not basically segregate the data under the different groups. So designing the groups, for partitioning the groups, what we need to do, we need to write the partition by. So for that, what I will do, I will write over and then partition by. Why we are partitioning? Because we need to identify the salary by department. As you can see here, we need to identify average salary by department. That is why I am partitioning the data by department here. So what I will do, I will mention partition by department ID, and I will close this. Now if we will see our data, let's see what output is coming, and let me change this as department underscore name and department underscore ID. Here we need to mention department. Okay, perfect. Okay, and one more thing I need to do here is put in comma to separate these columns, and I will also mention the name of this newly created column. So for simplicity, let me write the name as average salary by department. Then also you put the name as per your wish as well, but for simplicity purpose, I am keeping the name as average salary by department, and we will run this. So this is the output that we will get, but here we will see the duplication. So to avoid that, what we will do, we will mention the distinct here, and once we control enter, we will remove all the duplicacy and we will get the single row for each department. So we can decipher here that for the HR department, the average salary is this, for IT department, it is this. And if we want to sort the results, we can see that for the sales department, we have the lowest average salary, and for finance department, we have the highest average salary. So this is the conclusion that we can derive by writing this query. Again, if we will go through this particular query, what I did, I mentioned the department ID and department name. And the important thing that I used here is average salary, the average function, and the over clause. And why we use this over and partition by? Because we need to identify salary by department. Again, friends, I am emphasizing this thing. When we want to group our data by a specific thing, like in current scenario, we need to group our data from the department perspective. We are using partition by department ID. You can also use partition by department name here, but currently I'm using partition by department ID. So as per the given scenario, we need to make sure that we are grouping the data correctly. So this is the basic query. I hope that you are able to understand this query. And let me tell you, friends, you will get similar type of scenarios in your data analyst interview as well. So go through this query, also practice similar queries on your own as well. So now we will write our advanced query. So in this advanced query, or I can say advanced interview question, we have the requirement of average salary by department and gender. Now there are two groupings, not only department. In the earlier scenario, we have grouped the data on the basis of department or partitioned the data on the basis of department. Now we need to partition the data not only by the department, but also by the gender. What I will do, I will use same query now. I will copy this particular query and let me move this and paste this. So now what we need to do, partition by department ID as well as gender. Again friends, we need to understand this question in a thorough manner, because here say interviewer has asked average salary by department and gender. So the requirement here is that we need to group the data on the basis of department as well as gender. So what I will do, I will mention partition by department ID and gender. So for simplicity, let me mention average salary by department and gender. You can basically mention the name as per your wish here, but for simplicity, I am keeping the name as average salary by department and gender. Now what we need to do, we need to run this particular query. You can see here that the output contains department ID, department name, and average salary by department and gender. And one thing I need to add here is, like, I need to showcase you the gender as well. So let me run this. You get a fair bit of idea what is happening. So let me sort this particular data. So what is happening in the sales department, males are drawing lesser average salary than females. So this is the conclusion that we can derive for sales department. For HR department, again, the females are drawing more salary than, on an average basis, we can say that females are drawing more salary than males. But in IT and finance department, males are drawing more salary. On an average basis, males are drawing more salary than females. So this is the conclusion that we can derive from this data. So let me reiterate the steps that we have followed in this scenario. So we are using the employee data. We have picked the department ID, department name, and gender columns. Then what we are doing, we are identifying the average salary. And we are identifying the average salary for the department and gender. So as you can see, we want to identify salary by department and gender. So what we need to do, we need to partition our data on the basis of department ID and gender, because then only we will be able to create the groups. Again, let me reiterate this important aspect, that why we are doing this partition by, because we need to group our data on the basis of department and gender. Then that is why we picked this department ID and gender columns here. And over clause is must. We can say that we are identifying the average salary on the basis of or by department and gender. And then we have finished our query. Once we will run this, we will be able to derive this particular output. And also we mentioned the distinct because to remove the duplicacy. So in the current scenario, we have the department name, gender, and department ID. We can get the single row here. Otherwise, if we will not put distinct, then there are multiple rows that will come. So to avoid that, we mention distinct here. Also, one thing that I need to emphasize here is that these type of scenarios are not only important from interview perspective, but once we work as a data analyst, we will also see these type of scenarios in our real world projects as well. Some of my friends who are currently working as a data analyst, they are also aware that these scenarios are very frequent in our day-to-day activities. So we need to understand, we need to follow the same practice. We need to first understand our data, then in a step-by-step manner, we need to write our query to reach the conclusion. So I hope you are able to understand this advanced scenario as well as the basic scenario, and you must practice these questions on your own as well. I will provide you the data set that we have used, and in case you have any queries, you can share them in the comment section. I will try to answer. We will meet in the next video. Till then, thank you. Take care.